Welcome back. Now we have some floors and we have some walls. We're going to need to take care of these corners, so we need to look at what pillar options we have. So let's go ahead and look at this array of items at our disposal. So here are some pillars, and these look relatively the right shape, but we might need to scale these up a bit. So let's go over here to our little wall that we have, and let's create a corner. So I'm going to hit E and rotate this by 90 and just bring it over and create a little corner here, similar to what we have in our level here, where we've got what looks like a corner that's roughly 1 square by 1 square. So we can go ahead and recreate this problem here, and so it looks like the square is going to be roughly this big. So I'll move this out. So I'll adjust this so it looks like this. So this is roughly the problem we have. We need to cover an area like this. So I'm going to go over to our columns and take this first one here, and I'm going to copy it over. And let's see just how much space it takes up already. So let's move it over to the corner. We'll bring it in here and look at it and see how it looks. Okay, so it's almost the right size. We're going to need to scale it a bit. So let's go ahead and scale and stretch until we get something that looks roughly good enough for what we need. I'm going to set scaling down to 5 and just scale this thing up a little in both directions. So that's almost exactly what I need. I'm going to take scaling down, and I want this protruding roughly the same amount as the rock for the wall. So I'm just going to make sure that things are scaled correctly. Okay, I'm going to turn snapping back on, and I'm going to move this over and see how tall it is. Looks like it's 5 units tall. I'm wondering if it would look good if it were, say, 8 units tall, so I'm going to scale it up and see what happens. So that's almost perfect there. I'm going to turn snapping off now, and I think that looks pretty good. So I think I have this column brick here, and this might be something I can use. Let's go ahead and copy it over and see how it looks over in our level. So I'm bringing it in here, and of course I scaled it to half what I needed, but you know what, that's okay. Let's see how it looks here, because if it's exactly half what we need, we can either duplicate it like this, or we could scale it up. Now it looks like our wall might need to move over by just a little bit. So what I think I'm going to do is scale this out. So I'm going to select it and scale it in the X and Y and simply just move it in a little. Now that is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy it up. Turn snapping back to 100 and see what this looks like. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this over to the left and just use it here. Set snapping back to 5 and bring it in just a bit, and we'll see what this looks like when we hide the shooter prototype. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to show shooter prototype again. And now I believe we're going to need to place one of these in this corner here. So I'm just going to copy it over and move it to where it's visible. And that takes care of that corner. Now down here, it looks like I'm going to need to move this out a bit, possibly even scale it. That's not a big deal. These don't have to be perfect. Remember, in fact, sometimes it's even better if they're not perfect. For example, I can select this wall here and ungroup it and take one of these and rotate it a bit. I'm going to turn snapping off for rotation and rotate it out just a little, and take the one below it and rotate it in just a little. So now it looks damaged and like maybe something caved it in here a little bit once upon a time. So that's something that you can do, is add some imperfection to this. Not everything has to be perfect. Now, of course, since I introduced this little opening here, we need to make sure that there's something blocking the light behind it. So I can just take one of these walls here, for example, copy it out, offset it a bit, and now there's no light shining through. And we can do the same thing with the floors as well. I can select this bottom here and ungroup it, take one of these bricks here and rotate it up just slightly, like this, and take the one next to it like this. So now it looks like this brick is not perfect, and it looks a little bit better, more realistic. Like these are actually ruins, and this stuff shouldn't be perfectly aligned anyway. So you can do that with a lot of these. You can select some of them and sort of rotate them, kind of offset them, replace them with broken assets. There's a lot of damaged and broken assets as well. So that's another thing you can do with these. Okay, so we've taken care of the corners. That is looking good. And in the next video, we need to do something about the rest of this geometry, like these blocks here and these staircases. So we'll take care of that in the next video. I'll see you soon.